Hi everyone, this is our channel Around My Story. Please like, share and subscribe.
Hi there. I'm Marco and I'm 21 years old. I was born and raised in one of the poorest neighborhoods in my city. I tried to find a decent hobby at a young age that might lead me into earning a living. I found my passion when I began working in the computer field. I fell in love with technology. Because of my intelligence, I became famous in a short span of time. I could identify computer problems and resolve them immediately. I became wealthy, but my greed couldn't be satisfied. I want to get richer quicker, so I became a hacker. I experimented and played around trying to crack various low-level security systems. Then one day, I decided it was my time to up my game by trying to hack into banks and websites. My first challenge in my new career was to hack into my local bank. Banks have strong computer security systems, but I was able to breach their security protocols and breach their security defenses. I honed my skills and developed a hacking program that could hack any website without leaving a trace of evidence. I hacked into the bank's funds and transferred a huge amount of money to my account. In the morning, the news announced that the bank had been hacked by an unknown person. There were no leads in this case. I wanted to boast to people that I was the hacker who had cracked that bank, but I was too smart to do that. My next challenge was to hack into my country's national banking system, a higher-level security system. It took me a couple of attempts, but I succeeded in the end by transferring a hefty sum of money into my account. The whole city was abuzz talking about the phantom hacker who was stealing money from banks with impunity and without leaving a clue. My third challenge was the Ministry of Finance. I tried to breach their website a few times, but I failed each time. After some investigation, I learned that they had a Russian security expert in charge of their security, and he was very good indeed. As a matter of pride, I took it upon myself to make beating him my personal goal in life, like an equal opponent in chess. We began playing our game. I would try to hack in, and he would block me. This back and forth game continued for a little while, until one day he sent me a message. Got you! Suddenly, my computer shut down. Soon afterwards, the police showed up at my door and arrested me. So here I sit in prison. But the chess game between myself and my Russian adversary is not over yet. I will finish my prison term and come back for a rematch someday. It's a matter of personal pride now.
It's completely normal when we meet someone we like to want to know everything about them. We'd want to get close to that person. And if that person happens to have a secret, we'd have a natural desire to want to know what it is. In this case, one has two choices: staying with that person or staying away from that person. Let me tell you what my choice was when this happened to me. My name is Rosalind, and I'm 15 years old. I live with my dad and my brother. Mom passed away and my brother was small, and I ended up caring for all his needs. Dad was everything to us, as he loved us a lot. He liked to spend most of his time outside, though, and so I was responsible for everything inside the house, in addition to my studies, that is. Memories of my mom were the only thing I had left of her, and I would often just sit and think about her. On the first day of school, Dad was away traveling abroad. All the kids in my class were excited after hearing that we have a new teacher this year. When she entered our classroom, I was both pleased and shocked that she looked exactly like my mom. Even her smile was the same. Her name was Isabel. I just adored her looks, her charismatic manner, and her charming voice. But I wasn't the only one who was charmed by her. All my friends liked her as well. I asked her to be my friend, and she was more than happy to. I told her that she reminded me of my mom. She smiled broadly and hugged me tight. I really missed Mom. Isabel told me that if I ever needed anything, I should just come to her, that it's what best friends do. It made me so happy. After school, I saw her waiting a bit up the street for a taxi. She looked so nice standing there in her makeup and nice clothes. I had told my brother that I would introduce him to her, but as we were walking towards her, a car stopped, and she got in and left. It was a very strange car. It had very dark tinted glass that prevented anyone from seeing inside. The next day, I asked her if she was married, and she said no. I told her I saw her get in a car yesterday, and that seemed to worry her for some reason, which caused me to worry too. She said that one of her relatives happened to see her, and they drove her home. Curious, I decided to watch the same spot again tomorrow, to see if the same thing happened again. But I received a message that Dad had just got back, so I chose to head straight home. I was thrilled that Dad was back. I hugged him and told him how much I missed him. We talked a lot, and I told him about Isabel and asked him to come to school and meet her. Unfortunately, she was absent the day Dad came to meet her. I began to worry about her some more. The day after that, I went to the same place at the same time, waited for her again. I wanted to know about the car with tinted glass. After school, Isabel came and waited again for the same car. It picked her up and drove away. When I went back home, Dad wasn't home. My brother told me that Dad had gotten a phone call and left. The day after, I saw Isabel at school, and she looked very happy. So I asked her why she was so happy that day, and she told me that she had wonderful news, that she would tell me about it later. That same day, I went to a friend's birthday party. Coincidentally, there was a nightclub near my friend's house, where I could see a bunch of weird people going in. Suddenly, I spotted Isabel, arriving and entering that place too. I felt really sad seeing her enter such a weird place. After the party, I went home disappointed. Dad saw the look on my face and asked me what was wrong. I didn't really feel like talking, so he changed the subject and said that he had great news to tell me. He was going to get married again. I was not expecting this. I was so shocked that I was speechless for a few seconds. Then I asked him, "What about Mom?" He tried to explain to me, but I was beyond listening at this point. I turned around and went to my room, leaving him alone with my brother. I sat there thinking about Mom, crying alone in my room. The next day, I was still angry, and I decided to ask Isabel about the nightclub. I went to her office at school and asked her what she was doing there last night. She started to explain, but I cut her off and told her that I was disappointed. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice behind me. It was Dad's. Dad started explaining in her place. "I'll tell you everything," he said. Isabel's mother was very sick, and she was working there as a part-time job to save up money for her mother's surgery. Rather than hearing the actual explanation, something else caught my attention. "You know her?" I exclaimed. "I mean, how is that possible?" And he said, "I met Isabel not too long ago. I told her that I had a daughter who attended the same school that she was teaching at." Then Isabel added, "I didn't know that you were his daughter, but I loved you even before discovering that." Dad then said that that was what he was trying to tell me last night, that he was going to get married to Isabel. I broke into tears, hugging her and apologizing. Not only did I gain a mother that day, but a best friend too. Being famous is a dream for most people, but achieving this particular dream is not easy. It takes a lot of perseverance, and maybe even some luck. Listen to my story. My name is Rona, and I'm 18 years old. I live with my mom and my sister. My dad passed away long ago. We live in a very poor neighborhood, where drug dealing and death are everywhere. My mom is a nurse, but even so, her salary is barely enough to make ends meet. I have always wanted a better life. I often admired famous people, like singers and actors, and I imagined myself living in their world of fame and glamour. What I would give to be a famous person like them. I had a dream. I wanted to be a clothes designer or a fashion model. I would draw different styles of clothes and stand in front of the mirror, posing like a model. I just knew that my clothes would fit perfectly. But here's the thing. I wasn't thin enough to be a model. This was the obstacle between me and my dream, so I decided to go on a diet while searching for a job. One day, I read the news about some famous clothes designer and learned that a fashion show was going to be held near my area soon. Within a week, they would be holding an audition to select some local models, so I saw an opportunity to enter the competition, get selected as a model, and make my dream come true. I did everything I could to lose weight. When the audition day came, I tried to get in the fashion show, but the security guards wouldn't let me pass because I looked too ordinary. So I went home, dressed up like a princess, and then returned, looking more important. I was allowed in. I saw many fit girls with nice slim figures. They were so beautiful, and seemed so enthusiastic about the audition and their chances of being selected. I felt like I was watching a fashion magazine photo shoot. I signed up for the audition. One by one, the girls performed in front of the judges. Some came out sad, and some came out ecstatic. After seeing this fierce competition, with many beautiful girls being turned down, I lost hope and turned around to leave. That was when I bumped into a woman. Her name was Linda. I excused myself and said, "I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention." Linda replied, "It's okay. Are you one of the competitors?" "Yes, I wanted to, but seeing all these beautiful girls, I don't think I have a chance. Goodbye." "No, you shouldn't give up so easily," she said. Her kind manner persuaded me to turn around and try out for the audition anyway. As I walked onto the stage, I noticed that Linda was one of the judges. She winked at me as our eyes met. I did my best. Once my audition was over, I looked at Linda, and she smiled and gestured with her head that I had done well. However, one judge told me that my performance was good, but my figure was not. I needed to lose more weight. Linda told me that I was put on a list of potential models with the stipulation that I could re-audition if I lost more weight. So I buckled down and really hit the diet hard. I began starving myself. Mom felt miserable watching what I was putting myself through. I managed to lose about 40 kilos. Unfortunately, I had become so thin so quickly that my health began to suffer. I started feeling depressed and even got dizzy at times. When the next audition day came, I entered the audition room and once again met Linda. She looked at me with worry on her face and said, "What have you done to yourself?" "You told me to do my best, so I did," I said. I walked onto the stage. The judge who had told me to lose more weight saw me and was shocked. He asked me, "How were you able to lose so much weight so fast?" When I began my performance, my weakness caused some dizzy spells, which caused my modeling motions to be unsteady and awkward. Linda was clearly worried. As she watched my performance, as if she expected me to fall at any moment, the judges gave me poor marks, and I was rejected as potential model. I was greatly disappointed because I had tried so hard. I said to the judges, "But I followed your instructions and lost more weight." The one judge said, "Yes, you lost more weight, but then you let your performance suffer as a result." Then I passed out and woke up later in a hospital bed. Mom and my sister and Linda were waiting at my bedside. I asked them what had happened. "You're too weak. You fainted on stage," Linda explained. Suddenly her phone rang, and after she answered and listened for a moment, I heard her say, "What? Oh no." After she hung up, I asked her what had happened. She told me that the plane carrying the judges and the competitors had crashed. There were no survivors. They would have to start the whole competition and selection process all over again. Though I was saddened by the tremendous loss of life in the plane crash, I chose to interpret this as a sign from above that I had another chance to achieve my dream, that I should not give up. With Linda's guidance and advice during my rehabilitation program, I was able to achieve an optimum weight with good health. Fate and my perseverance had given me a second chance, and I would not waste it. I am now ready and determined to try again.
Hi there, I'm Carl and I'm 19 years old. I live with my grandpa on his farm on the outskirts of the city. Grandpa is fond of nature and quietude, as these calm his soul and spirit. He loves cultivating flowers and is very skilled in this field. He reads numerous books on unusual species of flowers, including their planting and growing requirements. He can also extract perfume fragrances from flowers. At first, I didn't care about this hobby of his and viewed it as a waste of time. However, after talking with him many times at length and listening to his myriad descriptions of the beauty of nature and flowers, I became hooked on them myself. Now I am as passionate as he is about them, and I love to study and learn about exotic and rare flowers. One of Grandpa's friends happened to be a botanist. He could talk for hours about rare flowers, even imaginary ones depicted in science fiction movies. One evening after he had visited our home and left, we went into the kitchen to prepare dinner when suddenly there came a knock at our front door. I answered the door, but no one was there, nothing save a small box with a card, which I dutifully carried to Grandpa. The card said simply, "A gift from a dear friend." So we opened the box to find some strange seeds that were unlike any that Grandpa had ever seen before. He read another part of the note. "This is a Yasni flower from the future. Get ready for a fantastical, unforgettable trip." We didn't really believe this silly message, but we decided, what the heck, let's plant them and see what happens. In just 3 days, the seeds had produced exotic-looking purple flowers. Grandpa plucked one to extract some perfume from it. It had a wonderfully fragrant smell. Suddenly, I felt enervated and listless. My vision blurred, I couldn't breathe, and I became dizzy and passed out. When I opened my eyes, I was in the middle of some unknown desert. There were unfamiliar-looking parked cars with people in unfamiliar-looking clothes. One of the strangers pointed at me in alarm and shouted, "Catch him!" I ran, but they surrounded me and caught me. They bound my hands and hung me from a horizontal tent frame. I heard a groan and looked to my left to see Grandpa, similarly bound and hanging from another tent frame. The strangers were speaking in a language I had never heard before. Their apparent leader came over to us and said, "See this desert? The entire world is like this. Because of you. You destroyed our world. Our future is dark and bleak now. Those Yasni flowers you planted ended up breeding out of control and destroyed the world. You need to pay for your foul deeds." Suddenly, I heard a gunshot. Someone had shot Grandpa in the chest. He was bleeding profusely and appeared to be unconscious or dead. I couldn't tell which. I screamed, and then the shooter came towards me with hatred blazing in his eyes. He stopped and placed his gun barrel to my forehead. I screamed, "No!" and closed my eyes tightly. After a pause and hearing no shot, I opened my eyes to find myself lying on the floor beside Grandpa, the plucked flower lying between us. I woke him up and told him about my dream and found that he had had the exact same dream. He called his botanist friend and described the seeds, the flower, and its fragrance to him. The botanist said the unknown flower sounded similar to one that grew high in the Swiss Alps. It was illegal to import because it was known to induce hallucinations and cause other unpredictable reactions in people. To this day, we have no idea who the dear friend was that sent us these unusual hallucinogenic flowers. We figure it must have been someone's idea of a practical joke. Or were these Yasni flowers indeed sent to us from the future?